there. I was like, Bunny, I'm trying to better my life over here. But other than that, sweetheart of a guy, and I'm so happy that he's finally here again in the foreign event.
He is a sweetheart, all right? Not to paint him as too much of a degen, because he's really not, guys. We're just kidding around here. But he was also the one that helped kickstart our little beer pong drinking game after Katowice. We were like, anyone going to play? Anyone going to play? And he was like, yeah, sure. Bunny's a great guy. Real team player. But anyways, Gerald is kind of on the up and up, but when Europe is just so full of up-and-coming Protosses, it can be really hard to stand out from the pack. Actually topping this group by beating Bunny would certainly be a start there, but not a great start if he lost this probe. Is forced to retreat back home, but yeah, that would be great for Gerald. For Bunny, this is kind of the expectation, yet still for South Koreans, which is that they are going to get to group stage 3 and probably into the playoffs.
Yep. There is one result that has really stood out for me over the last, give or take, 2 months for Gerald, and that is that he was one of the very first 4 Europeans to qualify for Home Story Cup. That's, of course, an upcoming EPT event as well in just a couple of weeks. That's going to happen in Krefeld, Germany. I expected Gerald to qualify, but kind of like in the second qualifier or maybe a third qualifier. The fact that he was one of the very first 4 Europeans to qualify. Now, of course, Rainer and Sarah were already invited, but that still makes him like a top 6 player in Europe, given by those rankings. Now, of course, we can't say that he's top 6 just because of one qualifier, but I thought that was really impressive. Ever since that crazy good first qualifier by him, though, I've seen a couple of somewhat lackluster, especially PVTs. The other day I casted him against Juanito, and it really wasn't close. He even left the second game without GG because he was so frustrated on how quote-unquote bad the games were, because both games were over at minute 5. And if that happens against Juanito, you're really going to have to step it up against Bunny, because I love Special, but I hold Bunny in higher regard.
Well, Bunny does have a way of making Protosses rage.
Yes, that is the story right now. Yeah. He's like, did you see me make Creator angry? I was like, yes, Bunny, we all saw it.
Yes, but he does do particularly well, I think, in kind of shock and awe versus Protoss. Very aggressive guy for Protoss players trying to perfect their defensive setup can be annoying. But Gerald, overall, I've always had the opinion that he's just almost there on PVT, but not quite. Like, the build looks like it's going to go okay. It looks like he's about prepared to handle one of the big game pushes type of situation in the Open Cup, and then he just barely doesn't. So it's always, for me, about Gerald, that first wave push, because that is often actually what determines whether he wins the game or just straight up loses right then and there, as Helene is going to get a decent amount of scouting, even a probe, and even escape.
Yep, and obviously he sees the Twilight Council. I do believe that the Reaper already confirmed there is a Stargate in the main base, right? So I don't think Bunny would ever go for a Widowmine drop. No, he didn't see that one yet, so the Reaper left. I mean, if he goes for a mine drop, and that mine drop gets intercepted by the Phoenixes, then Gerald is obviously off to an absolutely flying start. This medevac is actually empty. I call that a big Gabe special, because Gabe has found some success with that in the past. Losing a medevac would obviously be bad news, but it would be a whole lot worse if you put 2 or even 3 Widow Mines inside of that and you don't get anything done.
Exactly. A Phoenix charge it is for Gerald, so Bunny wants to kind of reconfirm that with any type of scouting, including another Hellion scout, if possible, as opposed to Phoenix Colossus, which there's multiple ways to scout it. The third next is going to be scouted first and foremost. It's kind of like almost a Korean special, I feel like, to get this Raven against someone who might be going into Phoenix. But that is exactly what we have here, and the question is, can the Raven actually live long enough to be impactful?
Yep. Whenever I see this, I always ask myself the question, is your name Maru or Beyond? And if it's no, you probably shouldn't be building a Raven against Phoenix, okay? Because it's really hard to get value out of it. But Bunny is obviously still not quite sure if this is Phoenix or not. He may expect it. Maybe he was worried about an Oracle for a while. At the moment that he knows it's Phoenix, there's a couple of things you can do. You can try to escort that Raven to the other side of the map. And if it lives and it can drop the other turrets or an anti-armor missile, it's obviously pretty good against the build that Gerald is doing. If it gets picked up in the center of the map, that's a disaster. Flying it to the corner of the map to then bring it into the fight is also an option. But actually, build order-wise, this is about as good as it could ever be for Gerald. But I do think you should start finding some damage with the Phoenixes right about now. It doesn't have to be 7 or 8 SCVs, but just a few, and to have a good idea what you're going up against. Ooh, multiple Widow Mines, and that's his debate as well with the Phoenix. Double mine shot. I mean, Phoenix does still go down immediately. It's 2 Phoenix, I believe, that went down in the end for a Raven and a Widow Mine. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of even in a weird way.
Yeah, the Raven going down so quickly is really what made that almost a perfect setup for Bunny, and a little bit imperfect, maybe an even trade at the end of the day. Because the Raven, it just goes on too fast with the Phoenix. If it was another unit, I suppose, then it might actually still be alive, just barely, but you know, just barely is good enough. Gets repaired up. No, instead he just completely loses it. So, indeed, a bit of a trade. But I was with you. Like, Gerald has got to start doing something with his Phoenix. Just going into Phoenix charge lot isn't exactly going to just get you victory just by being passive at home, not just with the Phoenix, of course. You also do usually want to try and find an engagement once Terran moves out in the map, actually get collapse on them, and then that jump starts your trajectory towards that mid and late game, getting into those better units. But here, it's all about this right now, this push. Does it get surrounded? Does it get caught out? Does it get chased down? Because one thing this competition is great for is chasing things down.
That is crazy, by the way, going up to 4 bases right now, and I really don't think that's necessary. Because Gerald needs to respect this push. Losing a Phoenix there, because it's rally towards the other Phoenixes, is bad. Even just 1 or 2 Widow Mines will already make the army of Gerald a lot weaker. Gerald is just going to go for it immediately. I have the feeling this is actually going quite bad, as we end up losing a few more Phoenixes. Zombie Grub, this could very well be it. Great execution here by Bunny, but Gerald honestly misread this a little. It's like, come on, mate, we have 5 Phoenix, 5 Zealots. Why are we going up to 4 bases?
Yeah, this is obviously not what Gerald wants. Yeah, it's actually GG. 40 supply difference. So that's it. But this is unfortunately what seems to be happening to Gerald against a lot of his Terran opponents. So sometimes he's totally fine, he's in the groove, he defends this well enough, and then he actually looks like he thrives, and you're like, oh, his PvT is fine. But it is this first engagement that is often his biggest test. And it might be like, well, isn't that always the case? Like, no, some people, they do a little poorly, they do a little good. For Gerald, I don't know, it just always feels like it's either like all or nothing on that first push. In that case, it was nothing.
Gerald had way more gateways and he actually had Zealots for the longest time. And now I know if you have all the time in the world, that's kind of the way you want to macro. But when you know that you're already economically ahead, because it's 3 bases against 2 bases, you know a push is going to come. You got to be getting a few more units. I mean, what about a good old little sentry there, Zombie Grub? 1 Guardian Shield for the Zealots. Makes them so much better against those Marines. And of course, you want to kind of have the Phoenix with the Zealots. Ideally, lift the Widow Mines before they burrow. But the Phoenix is being on the right side, while the Terran army is in the middle, Zealots in the left. Yeah, that's a disaster. There is no good engagement there for Protoss ever. And obviously going up to 4 bases against a 2-base Terran, while we don't have any observers or we don't have a robotics facility, I think that's pushing it a little bit too.
Yeah, it was really questionable, but I wonder where exactly the misconception was. Just to be that woefully underprepared is rather shocking. Not to just dig into him after he just lost a game, but it is rather shocking because there's one thing that the Charge Lot Phoenix game is good at is usually that mid game. So it's like maybe you do have to buy a couple extra seconds for an extra round. Yeah, okay, that does happen, but then usually it kind of thrives for the next couple of minutes. So usually the Terran's very wary of even doing what Bunny did, and perhaps that was kind of it. Maybe he was expecting a more cautious Terran that was going to be like, oh, just kidding, I know I can't actually attack you, let me just back up here, and Bunny was like, nope, right into the natural.
Yeah, the one thing that kind of stings when you play Phoenix Zealot is that you kind of hope that they make a very quick attack. With just like 8 Marines, a Marauder, and then like a Cyclone or a Widow Mine, that's where Phoenix Zealot can really shine. And then if they don't make an immediate move out, you're like, do I transition or do I wait a little bit longer? But whatever you do, you gotta increase the Zealot count, because at one point he had 58 probes, 5 Zealots. That's just not the way to play this. You want to get a few more gateway units, you want to get a sentry. But I'm sure that this man knows it. Definitely looked a little frustrated after that first game. Let's hope he can keep it together and play an amazing game here on our second map, Moondance, representing Psystorm. This is Gerald.
In the bottom right, as the blue Terran for Team NV, he is Bunny.
What do you think is a realistic run here for Bunny at the DreamHack Masters Valencia?
Oh, a realistic run?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty realistic. He got top 8s at Katowice, and then he unfortunately was in the weird 1 a.m. playing zone, so we actually don't know how well that match could have gone versus Rogue, but I don't know, I feel like a good Bunny. Yeah, top 8 again in a tournament like this.
I had a little chat with him earlier. I was like, Bunny, what are we dreaming of? I was like, top 4? He's like, like maybe. if I play really good. He's like, I think I'm strong right now. I was like, yeah, I can see it. But it is, of course, a proper stack tournament. And you think of a Rainer, always a top 4. You think of a Clem, obviously a very big weekend for him. We haven't spoken a lot yet about Clément. But can Clément finally have a good run on LAN? Because that is a big story, I think, coming into this tournament. But then you have a couple of the top tier Koreans here. You've got Hero, who's a monstrous Protoss. Maru, of course, is here. Solar, always a force to be reckoned with. And then all these other strong Europeans. So top 4 is not a given, but I think top 8, that should kind of be a minimum for Bunny. And I think anything below top 8 would be a massive disappointment for him.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Well, Gerald did not have the best first game of his life. Absolutely not. And we're going to see, I guess, the willpower now. It is still maybe something to do with the new maps as well. I mean, a lot of these guys have tried practicing as much as possible, but with only 2 of the weeks really catering towards it in the competitive play with the Open Cups. Some are more comfortable than others, but it looks like Gerald wants to get more aggressive this time around. Unfortunately, going to lose pretty sure he's going to lose that probe.
Yeah.
Are these one? Okay. Nope. Just kidding.
Bunny playing that real safe, because I'm with you. I think he absolutely could have killed that, but he might still get this one. The Adept is way out of position. Gerald maybe a bit busy warping in that Stargate right on that moment. I think Stargate at the bottom side of the map, but because of that, the Shade wasn't quite doing what it was supposed to be doing. And now don't forget that we have a couple of probes that are already somewhat beat up on the in the main base, so Gerald has to be very careful that he doesn't leave the Reaper in once more, doesn't let the Reaper in. Stargate, Proxy Oracle, could hit a bit quicker. Hellion opening, but it's probably just a Hellion into a Widow Mine again.
Probably, yes. Yeah, there you go. So, since you're not doing very much else with the Widow Mine, I mean, typically it does go ahead and just plant itself defensively against an Oracle in case you didn't manage to figure out what it actually is. If you saw for a fact it was a Twilight Council, he might not bother, but question marks, go ahead and put it defensively. This second follow-up scout will still not, of course, see anything because it's proxied. We'll get in, though, and you're pointing out those weakened probes. Even one of them was in that natural, so 2 go down. The Reaper could absolutely head into the main base and cause even more chaos.
Yep, let's go ahead and take a look at that Oracle as soon as it comes out, because I think that's going to be the most important one. Yeah, that's one of these low HP probes. And there is one more very low HP probe. Nice zoning grenade. But Bunny just wants to get the scout. But I kind of feel like not seeing anything at all. It's like 99% of the time that's a Stargate. So this is already a good scout in and by itself. Widow Mine is moving, though. 2 Widow Mines right next to each other. That will allow this Oracle to activate Pulsar Beam and actually avoid them. So in the end, this Oracle is definitely not all that bad. No crazy damage yet, but at least Gerald gets a couple of points on the board.
Sure. Yeah, 4 SCVs. It's pretty good. Oracle lives. Gonna follow up with a Phoenix as well, and that'll help tear down the medevac drop if it does actually go across the map, which, I mean, it probably should, and it could even get out free, depending on the timing and the location. Yeah, exactly. But that was better than expected. Bunny just 1 second off from having it perfectly timed to both hit the Oracle and then still time out basically perfectly with the medevac. Okay, so this is the unfortunate one for Terran. This is exactly what the Geralt wanted to do. Literally find the medevac before it entered into a base. Hopefully kill these Widow Mines. Yes. Oh, not that one.
Yeah, no energy, right? Only one lift available there, but that was actually very good, of course, for Gerald. Loses 1 probe, kills 2 Widow Mines, kills a medevac. Whoa, he goes Phoenix into, well, basically Oracle, but then only a couple of Phoenixes, just kind of to keep medevacs at bay, and rushes into Blink. This is pretty ballsy, because that first push is going to be very powerful, and there is no way that you can ever have a Blink and charge, or a Blink and a Colossus. But I guess if your Blink Stalker movement is excellent, and you can keep the Terran busy, maybe blink into the main base once, and just try to drag it out, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
A Quick Templar as well. You think he's going to rush into Storm? Because an Archon doesn't make a lot of sense here, so it kind of has to be for Storm, right?
It might just be. It might, yeah. Okay, it's taken down. You know what's interesting is that Moondance is actually like one of the shortest maps in the map pool, I suppose. I actually did the rush distances. I'm just throwing it out there. But anyways, that it might share it with Inside and Out. But anyways, Moondance is like shorter than it appears, which I was going to your point, which you're like, it might be difficult to defend this first push, and things are still kind of deceiving on these maps. And I wonder if Bunny's first push is still going to be way too deadly. That blink will be done, but then it won't be done like it's not done right now. So these Stalkers can't really pick off Marines as much as they would if Blink was literally done. So that is the problem, but a free medevac is always nice.
That's very big there for Gerald. Picking off a medevac, that's going to make it a bit harder for Bunny to press Stim right now. You don't want to press Stim if you don't have a way to heal up those units immediately. But yeah, Gerald is honestly playing a crazy macro game here where he's just firing Storm up immediately. Like playing Stalkers and Archon, that's something that's good against like 5 units, but not really against a proper move out from Bunny. And obviously the first one is going to be a pretty proper move out. There's a Widowmine there in the mix. Actually connects with a Stalker. That's a little bit sloppy on Gerald's side. It really comes down to 1 or 2 storms, right? If those storms land in the middle of the bio army, it's going to be fantastic. Gerald will stabilize. If the storms are like, couple of Marines, 1 or 2 Marauders, then this game could be over again, because Gerald has played very greedy. He's at 63 workers, a Forge, and Storm.
Yeah, I don't think Bunny's going to be expecting this Storm, but Storm is about, what, 25 seconds away, and his push is still hitting at a very, very difficult time for Gerald. Chobane Overcharge not going to last very long. That gets taken down. Cannon also going to be taken down. Zynic Storm is ready now, however. Are there any Templars? No, the Widowmine Drag! Oh, it's as good of a Storm as any! 15 probes do go down, but Bunny at least loses the army, so he has to back away for a second.
I saw that one coming from a mile away, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Bunny didn't see it coming. That was the only play that Gerald really had there. Put the Phoenix in range of the Widowmine, and then just sent the Phoenix above the Terran army. 2 Widowmines fired, all of the bio units got blown up. That was honestly the only way that Gerald was ever going to clean up that army. So incredibly well done there. And Bunny probably thought this game was already over, because that's absolutely what it looked like. Well, Widowmines, sometimes they are the best friends of Protoss. Gerald is still definitely not out of the woods yet. He lost a lot of probes, and he's still down 24 supply. And Bunny is still applying a decent amount of pressure. These are the games that Bunny does love the most, right? It's like, greedy Protoss, I can be non-stop aggressive, I can look for openings, and I can be all in his face. And this is where Bunny normally does really shine.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think he's still going to have control over the game ultimately, but Gerald, he lives because of that. Otherwise, that's way worse. Maybe still not tap out time quite yet, but very close to it. Now it's like, okay, one more good Storm, maybe a couple of charge lot run-bys that are really well timed, and things can start really cooking. But this is an annoyance for sure. The Cybernetic score gets taken down while we're all mostly on charge lot Storm. If the Stalker numbers start dwindling as well, you lose that ability to, of course, replace them and then actually chase down some of these very weakened medevacs.
Hey, we still don't have a robot, do we?
No, I don't think so.
And then these Widowmines that are going to be the permanently cloaked boys now are going to be very problematic, because Bunny's armory is done, and that means that Gerald has no way to detect these mines anymore, other than a couple of cannons. There is one Widowmine drop. The defense against these drops have been very good so far by Gerald in this game. Basically picked off 2 medevacs that really didn't accomplish anything. Bunny, that's so crazy. A couple of your medevacs are incredibly low on HP, but Bunny, the YOLO Terran, has no fear. He does send the full HP medevacs in the front. And this is an absolutely amazing drop. And don't forget about these mines. There is no way to detect these mines for Gerald.
Yeah, that is a very big problem. I mean, the one to the far right's not going to pop off, I guess. No, it's going to find Knight Templars potentially. Weakens them up. The Storms, I think, are going to send this drop packing, but it's already done so much damage, and the medevacs still aren't really as punished as maybe you would think, considering how low they've been for a very long time. Now, 22 probes in total. Third base going to have it once again fire, I believe. I mean, Gerald's still in a ton of trouble, because, of course, the follow-up's going to have Ghosts, and there's no longer any chance for that, like, well, maybe High Templar gets an amazing Storm. Plus, the Marauder count's grown, too, so one Storm's not going to usually change the battle like that.
The fact that Nyal has not been to the bottom right side for the last 3 minutes in this game kind of says it all, right? As this pull is a little bit later, it does seem to be on time. But I think Gerald knows where these kinds of games are going. At this point, he's not mining anymore. Still doesn't have his first observer out on the map. It is almost ready, but even his army is High Templars. Oh my goodness, the medevac drop there. Sending the Ghost forward after using the boost, landing an EMP on a couple of those High Templars. Bunny is just having fun right now, and he's showcasing us why we were hyping him up, Zombie Grub, because Bunny is just an absolute animal at the moment.
Yeah. Unfortunately, his prey is Gerald, and we love Gerald, but he is absolutely the gazelle that has been caught and just ripped to shreds by a pack of lions. And it's, well, in this case, it's a pack of bunnies, I suppose. And they are pretty much murdering him right now. 60 supply lead, upgrades on the way, more Ghost Liberators to really lock Gerald into a undefendable position. Bunny knows this game is as good as over, and Gerald just, I think, wants to get something going for him, some morale victory, and send him into the rest of this group. But Bunny is absolutely topping it.
Yeah, I think Gerald just played a little bit too greedy in both games, honestly, and that's kind of why he got punished. You can get away with it against defensive Terrans, perhaps, that won't attack you. But Bunny is going to be in your face. We're going to pull the probes one last time, but that is absolutely not going to make the difference. Bunny is off to a very clean start here at the DreamHack Masters, winning his group 4-0 in maps, 2-0 in series, as his initial series was against